Daniel, why is Hilma of Klint important?
Hilma of Klint is an artist who was discovered quite recently because she kept most of her work secret. She showed it to people, like-minded people who were interested in the same spiritual movements that she was. So she wasn't totally a secret, but for the world that we would call the art world today, or even back then, she wasn't, in that world she was not known. And she was a very, very productive artist. The first decade of the 20th century, she produced an enormous series of works that she called the paintings for the temple. And those were 193 pictures, some on paper, fantastic, a fantastic
But she was
piece
not
of work.
selling anything.
She was selling her traditional work, so it's maybe good to emphasize that she was not some sort of outsider artist, and she was not some sort of self-made weird person. She belonged to a very important family in Sweden, high-ranking sea officers, and she was, more or less the first group of artists, female artists that were allowed to study at an academy. Sweden was progressive in that sense. I think the first country actually in the world, or at least in Europe, that allowed women to study at the Royal Academy. England came soon, and Germany came much, much later. I don't know about France, but Sweden,
Very
I think,
late.
was first. And she kept her maybe most important work secret. But she did portraits and landscapes, and they were shown and even sold.
But why did they keep them secret?
Well, we can only speculate. We don't know. But I think she did not think about this as art in the sense that you and I, whoever looks at this video actually, would believe, what art is. It was a more spiritual endeavor. She was, a member of a theosophical group in Stockholm. She was a spiritist. All of these were fashionable things. They sound weird today, but they were actually quite common. Many intellectual people and artists and writers were members of such things around the 1900. And then she followed a theosophical thinker who at some point created his own movement, Rudolf Steiner, and she became a close disciple of Steiner's. And I think she believed that these works had a spiritual message, or she clearly did. And they were not meant to hang in commercial galleries or even in traditional museums. She dreamed of her own art world, and in a way she created her own art world. She had a lot of female friends, and they created things together, and they read the Bible, and they read important spiritual books, and they prayed, and they created the seances. And then she initiated something that is called the paintings for the temple. And actually, if we look at her notebooks, she also wrote a lot. She dreamt of a little spiral, or not little, quite massive
Yes.
spiral building.
The format is something striking about her.
I really agree that is something that also kind of proves that maybe it wasn't art in the sense of traditional gallery art, or at least art produced by the European avant-garde. It's more to do with, architectural endeavors. It is
Or decoration?
could be, but I don't think she saw it as purely decorative, or I'm rather certain, because she wrote thousands of pages, so she was not a great writer, I have to say. She did not write interesting literature or very understandable manifesto-like texts, but they're more like spiritual texts about her experiences. I think one can say that she was a mystic. No one knows exactly maybe today what is mysticism, but not a traditional religious person.
But why was it really important so?
Oh, I think it's an overwhelming visual cosmos. I think they're very beautiful partly. Some of them are pure and unbelievably beautiful, I think, and remind me of things close to the Bauhaus or close to certain Russian constructivism.
But there's a chronology. She was before a lot of persons.
Yes. So in a way, if you see individual objects, you can think, oh, this is exactly what Kandinsky did, or exactly what Mondrian did, or exactly what certain Russian constructivist painters did, because they look pure and abstract. I think she did invent a certain kind of abstraction, but I think it's important to say that she was not someone who believed that abstraction was the goal. Not at all. So, abstraction
it's not
is just,
Kandinsky or Picabia.
no, but she
doesn't care.
She was a much more kind of relaxed person around. I mean, abstraction is a possibility. It goes in and out. So in a way, she did absolutely abstract paintings before Kandinsky. But it wasn't a teleological idea of we reach the final word, which is abstraction, like that whole Clement Greenberg, Alfred Barn idea of abstraction being the final. Not at all. It's just one thing and so she was quite cool about that, I would say. So there are cycles in this big body of work called the Paintings for the Temple, where you see that she purifies its abstraction more as a process than as a result. So you go from ornamental, I would say decorative, yes, but ornamental
Decorative
world,
in a good way.
yeah, it can even
Like
be
Matisse decoration.
yeah, representational, then more ornamental, and then suddenly actually pure abstraction, but then it goes back into representational possibilities. So for her it's just one of many possibilities. If someone said she's also a symbolist, I would agree. Yes, there are things that look very much like symbolist
So
art,
why
yeah.
is she important?
I think
summarize.
she's an unbelievably productive woman who made beautiful bodies, had a big production at the moment where one would not expect that kind of art. And one would not expect it from a female artist, actually, because she was a muscular, very productive woman who produced huge bodies of work. And if one likes them, she's important. If one doesn't like them, I don't think she's so important. But I do like them. Yeah.
And
but historically, they're a bit of a paradox. They change our view of that period, I think. If we take it seriously, and one has to now, I don't know how well known she is in France, but I would say in Scandinavia, but also in the US, she's more popular than the people that we would normally see as the founding fathers of abstraction. I just did a show in Düsseldorf with Hilma of Klint and Kandinsky, and I love Kandinsky. But after the show, I love Kandinsky even more. But I think it was Kandinsky that brought in the big audience. Hilma of Klint, not so much Kandinsky.
Really?
Yeah, she's the popular person. There's not a single dormitory in North America where there are not posters of Hilma of Klint now.
Because it's mystical.
Yeah, I mean it's new, it's strange. It came. I mean the breakthrough. We worked with her in a Scandinavian context, and I've known of her, like all my colleagues in Sweden have known of her in the late 80s, 90s. I wrote some little text in the mid 90s. Every critic
and
has
you were
written,
the first one to push her in the international scene.
Yes and no. I mean, no, because she has been shown in different contexts. But we did a very large show when I was the director of Moderna Museet, which is like a national gallery of Sweden. And that was the show that started to travel. So it went to Germany, it went to Spain, it went to all over the Nordic region. And then I did a smaller version for Hans Ulrich Obrist at the Serpentine Gallery. And that somehow opened the doors to the English-speaking world. And the final...
And the Guggenheim?
The Guggenheim came in 18, and they were interested all along. And I think the Guggenheim was a perfect place for her, because her dream of the temple really looks like the Guggenheim.
So Guggenheim is a temple in a way.
In a way. I mean, the Guggenheim is built as a temple. It is built as a temple for non-objective art. That's in the original documents. So I think the building was built not for Kandinsky, as people think. It was built for Hilma of Klint.
Wow. Merci beaucoup.
Thank you.